are reportedly using sex warfare to seduce and spy on professionals in the Silicon Valley. We are breaking this down for you and getting you the larger implications. That's coming up in just a bit. Also on the show for you tonight, we get you a detailed report on how global fury is erupting over corruption's dark web. You don't want to miss this. Also getting you the latest on the Pakistan-Afghanistan tensions. Is Afghanistan threatening Pakistan with a water war? We tell you all that's happening and all that you need to know. All this and more coming up. And our top focus, it's the new face of espionage. Silent, seductive, and dangerously effective. China and Russia are reportedly waging a covert sex warfare campaign inside the United States, targeting Silicon Valley's brightest minds, reportedly. An invisible war of intimacy and betrayal, where secrets are not stolen with guns, but with deception. Take a look.
Behind the glass towers of Silicon Valley, an invisible war rages. No sirens, no bombs, just whispers, glances, and the quiet click of betrayal. It's not a movie plot, it's happening right now. US intelligence officials have uncovered an extraordinary new front in global espionage. Foreign operatives using romance, marriage, even children to steal America's most valuable technology secrets. According to explosive reports, Chinese and Russian spy networks have embedded agents in California's tech corridors, women trained to charm, seduce, and entangle engineers, executives, and researchers working on sensitive innovations worth billions of dollars. These agents, described as long-term assets, build trust over years, entering lives, families, and boardrooms. Some marry their targets, others bear their children. Their real target are the tech secrets, a silent leakage of defense algorithms, AI models, and cheap blueprints flowing eastwards, invisible, intimate, unstoppable. Experts warn this is not new, just perfected. The KGB did it, the CIA knew it, the MI5 has done it. But in the digital age, the stakes are nuclear. Every leaked algorithm, every stolen chip design could shift the balance of global power. This warfare isn't new. Honeytraps are ancient espionage tactics. What's changed is the target. During the Cold War, spies targeted government officials and military personnel. Now they target engineers, venture capitalists, startup founders, the people building AI systems, quantum computers, hypersonic weapons, satellite networks. The scale is staggering. Theft of American intellectual property costs the US up to $600 billion annually, most attributed to Chinese economic intelligence operations. This isn't about stealing a single patent or prototype. This is about access to the minds creating tomorrow's technology. What makes it terrifying is its invisibility. There's no trace, no digital footprint, just emotion weaponized. A single heist disguised as love. By the time truth surfaces, the damage is already done. Hearts broken, industries gutted, nations outplayed. This is the spy war no one talks about. Fought not with bullets, but with bodies. And in America's race to stay ahead, the deadliest threat may already be sleeping beside its secrets. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Shifting focus for now, the West's hypocrisy is showing up again. The US sanctioned top Russian oil giants, Rosneft and Lukoil, and their 34 subsidiaries on Wednesday to cut Moscow's revenue and try and end the Ukraine war, now in its fourth year. While Germany has condemned Moscow in public, it lobbies Washington to spare the country's Russian arm. Reports quoting government sources showing that Germany is racing to seek exemptions from US sanctions on Rosneft's domestic arm. However, there is no official statement from Germany or the US on the exemption lobby. On Wednesday, the US warned of secondary sanctions, risk to individuals, banks or companies, including domestic energy suppliers' financial dealings with the two Russian oil giants. That means the US would cut dollar access to anyone doing business with Rosneft or Lukoil and their subsidiaries. Losing access to the US currency would plunge any bank or company into a crisis. Major European countries have significantly cut Russian energy imports over the last few years. However, Germany's race to lobby the US on sanctions exemption, showing European countries' dependability on Moscow for their energy needs, even now. The German arm of Rosneft is an essential provider of oil for distribution to gas stations and airports in the largest economy in Europe. But Ursula von der Leyen, the president of the European Commission, saying the sanctions by the EU and America send a strong message to Moscow to end the war. Listen to this.
Let me also start with Ukraine. Indeed, this morning we adopted the 19th sanctions package. It is a wide-ranging and extensive package that hits at the heart of the Russian war economy. And in parallel, the United States is proceeding with its own set of sanctions on Russia. So these are two very welcomed moves at the same time. Because, of course, together with our partners and allies, we have a greater impact.
The US curbs come after a similar move last week by Britain, remember, to sanction Rosneft and Lukoil. However, almost immediately, the UK granted a special license for firms to collaborate with two Rosneft subsidiaries in Germany. Britain justified the move, saying the subsidiaries were under German state control. Speaking at the Berlin Global Dialogue during an official visit, the Indian Trade Minister Piyush Goyal, in a strongly worded message, said the country will not bow down to tariffs as a weapon.
An active dialogue with the EU. If we get a fair deal, if we get an equitable and a balanced deal, maybe that will happen. And we are talking to the United States, of course, but we don't do deals in a hurry. And we don't do deals with deadlines or with a gun on our head.
He also said, quoting here, we shouldn't be looking at trade or trade deals in a very short-term context. It's not about what's going to happen in the next 6 months. Trade deals are for a longer duration. Trade deals are for a longer duration. Trade deals are not only about tariffs, it's not only about access to goods or services, but it's also about trust. It's also about relationships, quote unquote. He called out the West's hypocrisy on oil and questioned why is India being singled out. He confronted the UK Trade Minister for the sanctions on Indian refiners buying oil from Russia, to which the UK Trade Minister said the exemption to Germany was based on discussions with Berlin and that Britain was open to extending that to India. Listen to this.
So I was reading in today's paper, Germany is asking for exemption from US sanctions on oil. Now these are UK already has sorted and probably got an exemption for procuring oil from the US.
This is about the Rosneft deal, sanctions, right. I think, and we've sorted out the issues with Germany. We managed to do that very quickly, and I think the Americans will do something very similar.
So then why single out India?
Well, it's a specific subsidiary in relation to Rosneft.
We also have a subsidiary in India of the Rosneft.
Well, come and talk to us. My door is always open.
When Europe buys Russian gas, it's energy security. When India buys discounted oil, it's sanctions evasion, quote unquote. And then they show up saying, come and talk to us, quote unquote, like they own the whole world, it seems. The hypocrisy could not be louder here. Our other key focus, the stench of corruption is rising. It has breached the polished floors of the NBA and spilled onto the global streets. This is an all-out, invisible war on trust. And in the space of a single week, the world has exploded. Take a look.
The FBI shockwave hit the National Basketball Association like a sledgehammer. NBA stars, a Hall of Fame coach, and mafia family members were swept up in a vast, coordinated crackdown on illegal gambling and sports rigging.
The fraud is mind-boggling. It's not hundreds of dollars. It's not thousands of dollars. It's not tens of thousands of dollars. It's not even millions of dollars. We're talking about tens of millions of dollars in fraud and theft and robbery across a multi-year investigation.
Millions of US dollars funneled through rigged poker games and manipulated prop bets. It was the ultimate brazen betrayal. A stark reminder that corruption is not just a political stain, but a poison that touches the highest levels of competitive sport and entertainment. This incident was not an isolated one. There is a global rot that is no longer unknown or untapped. It's exploding. Corruption lives in every domain, every single step we encounter, from the ballot box to the courtroom, and the world's youth is taking up arms. In a powerful demonstration of generational rage, Peru's Gen Z protesters pledged to maintain relentless demonstrations. Their target? The deeply entrenched legislative corruption that has hollowed out their nation's security and prosperity.
We have a constitutional right to protest, and that right is inalienable. It cannot be taken away by a police commander, a congressman, or someone posing as president. We have that right, and we will continue to come out and march as many times as necessary and as often as we want, because we have the right to protest.
The same fire burns in Morocco's Gen Z protesters took to the streets again, rejecting the systemic lack of opportunity and the political elite's graft. Simultaneously, in Madagascar saw its youth rise in fury, voicing outright disapproval of a newly appointed prime minister, viewing the move as nothing more than the same old corrupt power play. Meanwhile, the old guard faced their reckoning. In a historic moment of judicial severity, former French President Nicolas Sarkozy was sentenced to 5 years in prison in the explosive Libya corruption trial. The conviction over a criminal conspiracy to obtain illicit campaign funds from the Gaddafi regime sent a clear message. No one is too powerful to be untouchable. The people are reacting. They are on the streets, fueled by the cold, hard truth that corruption is the world's most enduring pandemic. Bureau report WION World is one.
The Pakistan-Afghanistan tensions have entered a whole new dimension. There is a new bone of contention, and that's water. The Taliban have begun fast-tracking the construction of new dams on the Kunar River, a move that could choke water supply into Pakistan and escalate the already fragile relationship between the two neighbors. Afghanistan's Ministry of Water and Energy confirmed that the Taliban leader Hibatullah Akhundzada has directed immediate construction of multiple dams on the river. The acting water minister, Abdul Latif Mansoor, said the projects will be carried out by Afghan companies and said that Afghanistan has every right to use its own natural resources. The river, stretching nearly 500 kilometers, begins high in Afghanistan's Hindu Kush mountains. And then it flows south into Pakistan's Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, where it's known as the Chitral River, before turning back into Afghanistan to merge with the Kabul River near Jalalabad. The Kabul River eventually meets the Indus near the area that's on your map in Pakistan, located barely 90 kilometers from Islamabad. In fact, these rivers are lifelines for Pakistan. They irrigate farmlands, sustain industries, feed the Indus, Pakistan's main water artery. Experts warn that any cut in the river's water flow could severely impact irrigation and agriculture downstream, especially in Punjab, which is Pakistan's food bowl. Just for context here, according to the official website of Pakistan's Punjab Agriculture Department, the province accounts for roughly 57% of the total cultivated and 69% of the total cropped area of Pakistan. This latest water dispute follows weeks of the deadly clashes between the Taliban and the Pakistan forces along the Durand Line, the de facto border, which Kabul law calls legitimate. Kabul calls it illegitimate. Both sides exchanged fire on multiple locations and multiple occasions, leading to casualties and the temporary closure of key border crossings. We've been telling you about this. Now, those closures have already taken an economic toll. Prices of essential goods have skyrocketed on both sides. In Pakistan, tomatoes, a daily kitchen staple, now reportedly cost nearly 600 Pakistani rupees a kilogram, and that is a jump of more than 400%. 400%. Apples and grapes imported from Afghanistan have also reportedly become scarce and expensive.
Look at the market. There are no goods here. Most of the goods were damaged on the border. Many vehicles are stranded at the border. Traders have been ruined. The prices of tomatoes have reached around 500, 600 rupees per kilogram.
Now, it's important to note here that Pakistan and Afghanistan have never signed a formal water sharing agreement. And without one, any unilateral action on river projects could easily spiral into another diplomatic flashpoint. And Kabul's latest move over water could perhaps turn a fragile ceasefire into a fresh front, but this time not fought with bullets, but with dams. The financial cost of the Gaza war for Israel has surpassed $67 billion since 2023. And by mid-2025, the total projected costs were expected to reach about $87.5 billion, according to official estimates. The costs include both direct and indirect military expenditures, as well as the economic implications from the war. The cost of Israel's military operations has surged, and the war spending between January and May was reportedly over $30 billion. Analysts expect defense spending to nearly double this year compared to the pre-war levels, accounting for about 7% of Israel's GDP. A significant portion of direct costs coming from payments to reserve soldiers. An official estimate reports that a third of wartime spending, or about $20 billion, went towards pay and benefits for over 360,000 reservists mobilized. Israel faces a funding crunch from budget deficit widening to about 7% of the GDP. The Bank of Israel initially predicted growth of 3% for 2024, but revised it down to 2%. The war is expected to shave about 1 to 2% from Israel's GDP for this year. Israel has received substantial military aid from the US, including a $16.3 billion supplemental aid package. Still, according to the Bank of Israel, the long-term economic losses could reach $400 billion over the next decade. The Finance Ministry, for its part, is seeking to cut social services spending in its fiscal fight. For this year, the Defense Ministry sees between 118 billion and 130 billion shekel, or $31 billion to $35 billion to cover the Gaza operations. However, the Finance Ministry capped the defense budget at 110 billion shekel, or $29 billion to prevent credit downgrades. Still, Fitch downgraded Israel's credit rating, citing the high cost of the conflict and increased security spending. Beyond the direct impact, there are other hits to the economy from the Gaza war. The mass call-up of reservists has significantly disrupted the labor market. Estimates showing a loss of economic output of about 100 million shekels per day. The conflict has hit Israel's tourism industry, with international flights suspended and visitor numbers plummeting. The Gaza conflict has weighed on investor and business confidence. Israel's crucial high-tech sector has also been hit by the decline in foreign and domestic investment. Some tech companies have cancelled investments or moved operations elsewhere due to the prolonged uncertainty. Reports show Intel reportedly cancelled a $25 billion factory construction, and Samsung next closed its venture capital operations in Israel. Before we go on any further, a quick look at what else is lined up for you on the show tonight. We tell you how India is boosting its military prowess. It's a major move by the country. We're telling you all that you need to know. Can artificial rain really combat the pollution crisis in Delhi? We decode this for you. All this and more coming up. In a powerful assertion of its defense preparedness and strategic vision, India's Defense Acquisition Council, chaired by the Defense Minister, has approved defense procurement proposals worth nearly $9 billion. For the Indian Army, the DAC has granted the acceptance of necessity for several key systems. They are aimed at enhancing mobility, precision, battlefield awareness. And these include the missile system Mk2, an advanced anti-tank guided missile system designed to neutralize the enemy armor with pinpoint accuracy. It also approved the ground-based mobile electronic intelligence system for enhanced surveillance and electronic warfare capabilities. Together, these platforms will strengthen the Army's ability to conduct swift, coordinated operations across multiple terrains. For the Indian Navy, the new approvals underscore India's growing maritime focus in the Indo-Pacific, the procurement of landing platform docks, the naval surface guns, advanced lightweight torpedoes, electro-optical infrared search and track systems, smart ammunition, or the super rapid gun mount. For the Indian Air Force, the DAC's approvals mark a huge leap towards the future of autonomous warfare. The Council has cleared the collaborative long-range target saturation and destruction system. This sophisticated system, designed to take off, navigate, detect targets, and deliver payloads autonomously. Once inducted, it will allow the IAF to strike multiple long-range targets simultaneously with high precision. The timing of this boost is also crucial. The decision comes even as Operation Sindoor continues across multiple theaters and the border situation with Pakistan. In fact, as Operation Sindoor showcases India's tri-service coordination and readiness, procurement approvals reinforce a clear message that India is investing in strength through self-reliance or Atmanirbhar. And this also comes against the backdrop of China's increasing presence in the Indo-Pacific and the political shifts in neighboring countries that could reshape South Asia's security landscape. With one of the largest standing armies in the world, the third largest air force, a rapidly modernizing navy, India is not reacting to challenges, it is reinforcing its role as a major stabilizing power in the region. Shifting focus, the Prime Minister of Canada says he stands ready to restart trade talks with the US President Donald Trump, pulled the plug on trade discussions with Canada, citing the Ontario advertisement against his signature tariffs plan, featuring the voice of former US President Ronald Reagan. Listen to this.
And we stand ready to pick up on that progress and build on that progress when the Americans are ready to have those discussions, because it will be for the benefit of workers in the United States, workers in Canada, and families in both of our countries.
The Canadian leader's reaction comes after, in a social media post, Trump said, quoting, "Tariffs are very important to the national security and economy of the US." He added, "Based on their egregious behavior, all trade negotiations with Canada are hereby terminated." US President Donald Trump, remember, has also questioned the timing of this ad. He said the move appears timed to interfere with a looming Supreme Court case challenging the legality of his signature tariff policy. The president warned of disaster if the top court overturns his country-based tariffs. That includes forcing the government to refund companies billions of dollars in already paid duties. The court is scheduled to hear oral arguments in the case on the 5th of November. The television ad, funded by the Ontario government, had aimed to sow doubt among Republican voters, reportedly, using one of the party's most iconic voices. The ad was set to run until the end of January and cost about 75 million Canadian dollars. Ontario's premier, teasing the new ad campaign at a Toronto business meet last week, said, "We are going to repeat that message to every Republican district there is right across the entire country," quote unquote. And while Trump hit out at Canada, there was no clarity on whether the ads would continue to run in the US. Trump also mentioned the ads were worth $75,000, while Ontario had reported that the campaign would cost them 75 million Canadian dollars. The campaign was set to run until the end of January. Ford had said the ad would air on Newsmax and Bloomberg from October 17 and on other major networks, including Fox, Spectrum, and others over the last and this week. The premier had also noted that CNN was unlikely to air the ad, explaining that they are a little nervous, quote unquote. The campaign in question includes an address former US President Ronald Reagan gave in 1987. Reagan had also explained that tariffs should be used to solve a specific problem, not start a trade war. Ontario's ad features some parts of the former president's speech.
Now, that message of free trade is one I conveyed to Canada's leaders a few weeks ago, and it was warmly received there. Indeed, throughout the world, there's a growing realization that the way to prosperity for all nations is rejecting protectionist legislation and promoting fair and free competition. You see, at first, when someone says, "Let's impose tariffs on foreign imports," it looks like they're doing the patriotic thing by protecting American products and jobs. And sometimes for a short while it works, but only for a short time. Then the worst happens. Markets shrink and collapse, businesses and industries shut down, and millions of people lose their jobs. The memory of all this occurring back in the 30s made me determined when I came to Washington to spare the American people the protectionist legislation that destroys prosperity.
And separately, the Chinese embassy in Washington had also used the Reagan clip reportedly in a social media post on October 17 to taunt Trump's tariffs, it seems, as tensions rose between China and the US over trade. On to Delhi, which has seen its people gasping for breath, the toxic haze that we've been telling you about. Delhi, it seems, turning to science for salvation. All eyes are on next week, where the government says all preparations are done. And now, if the weather remains favorable, India's national capital is likely to witness its first artificial rain on October 29. The big question is, can engineered rain really wash away this crisis?
Then the world's most polluted capital, hope now rides on the clouds. Well, quite literally. Delhi is betting on artificial rain. A bold, desperate and high-stakes experiment to clear the choking haze that refuses to lift. This isn't fiction. Next week, cloud-seeding aircraft could off over the city, spraying silver iodide into moisture-laden skies, forcing clouds to burst. The mission, make it rain and wash the smog.
Cloud seeding Delhi की जरूरत है और पहली
Cloud seeding is a necessity for Delhi and is the first experiment of its kind. We want to try it in Delhi to see if it can help us control this very serious environmental problem. So the blessings of the people of Delhi are with the government, and we feel that this will be a successful experiment, and in future we will be able to overcome these environmental problems.
It sounds simple, but it isn't. Experts warn this silver bullet may be more silver than bullet. Cloud seeding only works if clouds are already ripe. If the air is dry, there's no storm to summon. Experts caution that even when it works, the relief is fleeting. A few hours, maybe a day before the dust and smog returns. Cloud seeding offers potential but cannot be seen as a magic fix. It's a high-tech band-aid, not a long-term cure. This weather war pushes the envelope, showcasing Delhi's will to innovate amid crisis. It's a striking move, pioneering technology to fight a problem choking the lives of millions. The real test will be whether the skies open up on cue and if this science-backed gamble delivers fresh hope for a cleaner, breathable Delhi.
Tonight, we're getting you a harrowing tale, a look at the hidden underworld in Myanmar, reportedly, where criminal networks are running vast scam centers. Thousands of people are being held in conditions that can be described as modern-day slavery. Reportedly, investigations by Myanmar now, in fact, also revealing that hundreds of thousands of people are being trafficked from across Asia, Africa, even Europe. They are being lured by the promise of legitimate work, jobs as simple as customer service or computer operators, reportedly. But once inside the compounds, the reality becomes grim. Workers are barred from leaving, forced to run cyber scams for long hours, and told that they must pay off inflated debts for the cost of their travel. Those who fail to meet their quotas, reportedly, face torture, imprisonment and death in some cases. Villagers along the Moi River have reported finding bodies of enslaved workers dumped in the water. These gangs reportedly run a system of fear and control where beatings and even killings are carried out under orders. Dead bodies, allegedly, sometimes displayed in front of the compounds as a warning, aiming to send out a lesson to those who might consider escaping. The scale of the operation is massive. A recent raid on the KK Park complex ordered around 600 workers to escape, yet thousands remain trapped. Security is often provided by local militias, while the operations themselves are largely controlled by the Chinese gangsters. Reportedly, the impact is global. Victims' targets span the world, with scammers reaching into countries like Britain. In 2023 alone, Southeast Asia reportedly lost $37 billion to cybercrimes. The international community is taking notice as the US and the UK recently imposed sanctions on the Prince Group, one of the largest networks reportedly orchestrating these scams. And early this week, the Myanmar military detained over 2,000 people. But freedom remains a distant hope, it seems. The story emerging from these compounds is one of human exploitation, allegedly on an industrial scale. US President Donald Trump has once again landed on the cover of Time magazine. And this time, it seems he may finally be happy with what he sees. Remember, after not being happy with what he called, quote-unquote, a super bad photo in the previous issue, Time magazine has apparently made amends. The latest cover features Trump in his signature red tie, sitting confidently in the Oval Office, elbows resting on the desk, staring straight into the camera. The headline, Trump's World, as you can see. Now, contrast that with the previous cover that we told you about as well. A low-angle shot, sunlight blinding the background, Trump's neck tucked awkwardly into his collar. The US president was so upset with that photo that he blasted it on his Truth Social account, calling it really weird and the worst photo of all time. And in Trump's words, they disappeared his hair and then had something floating on top of his head that looked like a floating crown, but an extremely small one. Really weird, quote unquote. Trump, though, did admit the article was, quote unquote, relatively good. It talked about his administration's role in brokering the Gaza ceasefire deal, remember. Now, in round two, Trump seems to have gotten the angle that he wanted. The latest portrait meets him eye to eye. No lighting that he's spoken about, that he is not happy with, no mysterious crown. Yes, his hands appear strategically placed to avoid another neck issue. And in case you're wondering, the photographer from that earlier cover was not the one responsible for this one. This is not Trump's first issue with the Time magazine. Back in 2016, when he was named Person of the Year, critics claimed the magazine's M behind his head looked like devil horns. So Trump clearly has a long-running issue when it comes to this publication, but at least now he may finally be happy with what he sees. As the Indian state of Bihar gets battle ready for the assembly elections in November, the opposition chief ministerial candidate has taken a dig at the Bihar chief minister, questioning his mental state. And this comes after a series of videos of Nitish Kumar's past public conduct and the moments that have gone viral. From garlanding a woman at a public rally, laughing while the national anthem was being played, to sitting with folded hands during a virtual meeting with the Prime Minister. Take a look at these past videos in this report.
Hey, left. तो आप करो, गजब आदमी है भाई।
योजना की शुरुआत करने वाले हैं टीचिंग मंडल यूनिवर्सिटी। मैं आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री जी को विशेष तौर पर धन्यवाद इसलिए भी देता हूं।
Saudi Arabia has taken a significant step forward in its labor reform efforts. It has officially scrapped the controversial Kafala system that has governed the lives of millions of migrant workers for over 50 years. The word Kafala means sponsorship. It's a system used across Gulf nations to regulate foreign labor. Under this system, every migrant worker is tied to a local sponsor who wields significant control over their employment and movement. Introduced in the 1950s by the Gulf Cooperation Council countries, it was originally meant to manage the flow of foreign workers, but has triggered questions over the years. The system, which has long been criticized as a form of modern-day slavery as well, had given employers an overwhelming amount of control over their employees. And this includes the ability to confiscate travel documents, limit job mobility, and even decide if the workers could leave the country. For the first time, 13 million migrant workers in Saudi Arabia will no longer be held hostage by this system. This is particularly significant for the 2.5 million Indian workers who have suffered from this system as well. The International Labour Organization and human rights groups have long decried the system for enabling human trafficking and fostering conditions of forced labor. They say the decision to abolish this system is not just a reform, it's a victory for human dignity and an end to decades of these violations as well. The move to dismantle the system is part of Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman's Vision 2030. It's a broader set of reforms aimed at modernizing Saudi Arabia's economy and its global image. And as the country prepares for major international events, including the Asian Winter Games 2029, this shift is crucial for attracting foreign investment as well and improving Saudi Arabia's standing. However, while Saudi Arabia takes this step forward, the Kafala system still continues in other Gulf countries. Millions of migrant workers continue to face similar violations, and for them, the fight is not over. Saudi Arabia's historic decision to abolish the system is seen as a glimmer of hope for a future where migrant workers are treated with the respect and the dignity that they deserve. The end of the Kafala system in Saudi Arabia is not just a policy change. It is the end of an era of modern-day slavery. It's a win for human rights, also a powerful reminder that with determination and global solidarity, even such systems can be dismantled. The American dream for thousands of Sikh immigrants is under threat, it seems, especially when it comes to Sikhs who own trucks. This follows a second deadly trucking accident this year involving a Sikh driver. Early this week, a multi-fatality crash on a California freeway claimed 3 lives, and the authorities say the driver, 28-year-old Jashanpreet Singh, worked for Sandhu Transport and was drunk, allegedly, behind the wheel. He now faces charges of vehicular manslaughter and driving under the influence. Police saying he entered the US illegally and had been released from border custody under the Biden administration in 2022, reportedly. This incident comes after a similar crash on August 12 in Florida. Police say India-born truck driver Harjinder Singh allegedly made an illegal U-turn, blocking traffic and triggering a minivan collision, allegedly, that also killed 3 people. Amid the fatal crashes, the broader Sikh trucking community is reporting increased harassment and fears of being unfairly targeted. According to the latest data, Sikhs now run nearly 20% of US trucking companies. Over 150,000 Sikhs work in the US trucking industry, making up roughly 4% of the country's total driver pool. Leaders in the Sikh trucking community say the backlash risks unfairly branding thousands of law-abiding drivers who keep America's freight moving. It's a major leap towards smarter and safer highways in India. The National Highways Authority of India, NHAI, has announced the deployment of network survey vehicles across 23 states, covering more than 20,900 kilometers of national highways, reportedly. These advanced vehicles will collect, process, and analyze data on road inventory and pavement conditions. It's a part of the NHAI's push, basically, to enhance the driving experience and ensure world-class upkeep of India's expanding highway network. Using 3D laser technology, 360-degree cameras, differential GPS, advanced sensors, these vehicles will conduct automated pavement condition surveys. It will identify the cracks, the uneven surfaces, and other road defects without any human intervention, reportedly. All collected data will be uploaded in real time to NHAI's AI-based data lake portal, where it will be analyzed by a team of experts. The system will transform the raw data into actionable insights, enabling NHAI to take targeted corrective measures and strengthen its road asset management strategy. The initiative marks a shift from manual inspections to data-driven monitoring, in a way, aligning with India's broader vision of smart infrastructure and AI-backed governance. NHAI plans to preserve this data for future technical use in the road asset management system, ensuring every stretch of the highway is surveyed at regular 6-month intervals. And to roll out this ambitious project, NHAI has invited bids from qualified companies, paving the way for a nationwide transformation in how India monitors and maintains its highways. And with this move, India's highway network is not just expanding in length, it's getting smarter, safer, and future-ready. Shifting focus now, the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky is speaking. Let's take a listen in.
Yes. Second, of course, it's important that everyone agrees the front needs substantial attention and the focus must be on it, and thank for all the steps of help. And third, we are promoting a more meaningful approach to diplomacy. Diplomacy matters only when it can lead to real decisions. And when it comes to Russia, that dish has many ingredients. The essential ones are real forms of pressure on Russia, sanctions, our long-range capabilities, political pressure, accountability for war crimes, and real actions regarding Russian assets. Today we all agreed sanctions that hit Russian oil infrastructure, Russian oil companies are a big step, and I thank President Trump and all our partners who are implementing this. And we have to apply pressure not only to Rosneft and Lukoil, but to all Russian oil companies like Surgutneftegaz and others, and to the shadow fleet and its infrastructure, and to Russia's oil terminals. And we have to implement all we have discussed today about the Russia's shadow fleet. Besides, we are carrying out our own campaign of pressure with drones and missiles, specifically targeting the Russian oil sector. So the long-range capability directly strengthens diplomacy, the more losses Putin suffers on his own territory. The fewer assaults he can carry out on the front line, and the faster he will agree to meaningful diplomacy. That is why we are working to secure Tomahawk cruise missiles, additional Storm Shadow missiles, other capabilities. Thank you very much, Kir, for today's decision. Thank you for your support that you said, and about long range. And there must be no option left for Russia except to end the war and return peace to our country. And of course, I also want to thank our partners for working with us to produce weapons, for investing in our country, for joint projects, and for the agreements we are now.
All right, we will continue to focus and get you up to speed with those developments, but shifting focus for now in a bid to reignite the magic of storytelling for an entire generation. For the first time in its history, the Booker Prize Foundation is turning its spotlight to children, with reports showing that children's reading has plummeted to a 20-year low. The foundation has announced a bold new step, the Children's Booker Prize. launching in 2026. This new award will celebrate the best fiction written for readers between the ages of 8 and 12. And yes, it carries the same prestige, of course, as the Adult Booker Prize, with a grand prize of £50,000 for the winner. But here's what makes it even more interesting and special. The judges will not just be adults. For the first time, children themselves will help choose the winner. The Booker Foundation plans to gift 30,000 copies of shortlisted and winning books every year into the hands of children across the UK and Ireland. The shortlist will feature 8 books, and submissions will open in the spring of 2026. The eligibility period for the 2027 prize will cover books published between November 1, 2025 and October 31, 2026. The first ever winner will be crowned at a dedicated celebration for young readers in February 2027. The move has drawn widespread praise from top children's authors, who call it a much-needed move to revive reading habits among children. The Children's Booker Prize could perhaps just be the move that inspires young minds to fall in love with reading once again, because every great reader starts with one unforgettable story. Japan's Mount Fuji is capped with snow for the first time this season. It comes 15 days earlier than in 2024, when snow settled there only on November 7. Take a look. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of Gravitas Tonight. This is me, Molly Gambhir, signing off. Thanks for watching.
As Indian cinephiles cheer for Chandra in Malayalam film Loka Chapter 1, we take a look at cinema's most iconic female superheroes. Know all about cinema stars who started behind the lens, and get a lowdown on celebrities' obsession with mom couture. All this and much more with me, Diksha Bisla, on WION at these times. As Indian cinephiles cheer for Chandra in Malayalam film Loka Chapter 1, we take a look at cinema's most iconic female superheroes. Know all about cinema stars who started behind the lens, and get a lowdown on celebrities' obsession with mom couture. All this and much more with me, Diksha